Namaram Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nivishishishunivadi Praskajadi Satarni. Vansha Kalpatrubhya Sakripa Sundarbhi Vacham Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we're reading from Stavavali and Stavali. Stavavali Raghunath Das, Stavamala Rupa Goswami, different. So this is Stavavali and Gauranga Stava Kalpavrksha. The desire tree of prayers to Lord Chaitanya. Shri Gauranga Stava Kalpavrksha. So text number 7. So all of these are prayers by Raghunath Das Goswami. When Raghunath Das Goswami was in Jagannath Puri. Jagannath Puri is Vipra Alamba Setra for followers of Rupa Goswami. For others, Jagannath Puri is Dwaka. And you have the opulent form of Jagannath. Jai Ho Jagannath. And so it's Aishwarya Bhav. But for the followers of Rupa and Raghunath, Jagannath Puri represents a Vipralamba Setra, a place of separation because Lord Chaitanya felt separation. Radha Bhav Prabhu Sada Abhiman. Radha Bhav, the mood of Radharani, Radha Bhav Prabhu. Prabhu is Mahaprabhu. Sada, Kirtanya Sada. Sada is always. Abhiman, in the conception or thinking of. Lord Chaitanya is always in the conception of thinking or identifying with Radha Bhav, the mood of Radharani. Therefore, this verse number 7, Lord Chaitanya says, "My dear friend, the doorkeeper, where is Krishna, the Lord of my heart? Kindly show him to me quickly." With these words, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu addressed the doorkeeper like a madman. The doorkeeper grasped his hand and replied very hastily, "Come, see your beloved. May that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rise within my heart and madden me also." Gauranga Hridayam Udayam Mamadayate. So this is text 7. Then text 8, perhaps my favorite one. Near Jagannath Puri was a great sand dune known as Kalpavrksha. Seeing that hill, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Oh, I shall go to the land of Braj to see Govardhan Hill." And then he began running madly to it, and all the Vaishnavas ran after him. This scene awakened in my heart and maddened me with love. May this scene awaken in my heart and madden me with love. So this is also described in Anchalila. I think it's chapter 16. Lord Chaitanya is walking and he sees Kalpavrksha. So this is a place that you can go to now. And it is a sand dune. This particular Kalpavrksha in Gaudiya Vaishnavism is now what is called Purushottama Gaudiya Math. Originally, Lord Srila Bhaktisiddhanta established a Gaudiya Math near Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's kutia or house. And it's a small Gaudiya Math temple. Then later, think possibly 1928 something, there was another Gaudiya Math, same institution, but much larger, perhaps 2 acres. And in this is called Purushottama Gaudiya Math also. On top of the sand dune is a house. And this is where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur lived for some time. And you can see that house. You can see the same bed that he slept on. You can take the dust, put it on your head. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, in November 1936, 1 month before he left his body, in other words, 1 month before what is called Aprakat Lila, he spent the month of Kartik at this Chattakaparvata. There's very beautiful deities. I think Radha Giridhari. So he spent 6 weeks. Then, first week in December, when Kartik finished, he left by train. This is described in Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhav by my godbrother Bhakti Vikash Maharaj. He traveled to Cuttack. In those days, Cuttack was the capital of Orissa or Odisha. And then he traveled to Calcutta, Bog Bazaar Temple. And then he displayed his pastime of becoming ill. And then he left his body. So he spent the whole month of Kartik at this Chattakaparvat temple. So previously, 500 years ago, Lord Chaitanya saw this sand dune and it reminded him of Govardhan Hill. Therefore he said, seeing that hill, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, oh, I should go to the land of Braj to see Govardhan Hill. So this sand dune was an udipad. The word is udipad, not udipana. It's udipad. And udipad is a section or part of vibhavs. So udipad means that thing, that object, which stimulates your love for Krishna. Love for Krishna not in a general way, but for udipad to be taken seriously, it has to awaken within your heart love for Krishna, either in Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, or Madhuryaras. As we know, there's only 5. There's not 4, there's not 6. So this is one sthai bhava, or permanent relationship with Krishna, that every jiva in this Brahmanda, not just this Brahmanda, in the entire material universe, which is composed of many Brahmandas, all jivas have one of these 5, either Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. Then of course within each ras, for instance, Dasya ras, Rupa Goswami has described divisions. Adikrita, Asrita, Parishad, Anuga. 4 divisions within Dasya ras. And then the subdivisions also within that. So Lord Chaitanya saw this Chattakaparvata, and then thoughts of Govardhan Hill awoke within his heart. And he started running towards it like a madman. And the devotees ran after him. Devotees, this is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srup Damodar, Govinda, Kashishvara, Ramananda Roy, perhaps Murari Gupta, I'm not sure. and also described Bhagavan Acharya, who apparently was lame, also followed them as best he could, hobbling. Bhagavan Acharya. I've also read that Bhagavan Acharya is a expansion of Lord Chaitanya, but it's also said he was in Sakya Ras. So Lord Chaitanya, he runs to Chattaka Parvata, thinking of Govardhan Hill, and then he falls down on the floor unconscious, and displays non-human-like symptoms. Blood comes out of the pores of his body. His body turns white. His teeth begin to chatter and almost come out of their gums. These are anubhavs that cannot be displayed by a human being. In other words, a jiva. A jiva cannot. Lord Chaitanya could. It's interesting that Lord Chaitanya's feelings of separation were more extensive and deeper than even Radharani's. We don't read in any Rasik Sastra of blood coming out of Radharani's body or her limbs going into her torso and becoming like tortoise. But Lord Chaitanya we do read. So this is actually, technically, this is called Rudha Mahabhav, Adi Rudha Mahabhav, Mohanaikya, that's it, Mohanaikya Avirudha Mahabhav. So we can read about it. Even when we read about it, we can't believe it. It's too extraordinary. But Lord Chaitanya exhibited these symptoms. So getting back to the original point, udipad, something which stimulates our love for Krishna. For instance, an example to make it easier. What is an udipad? The mother has the child, and the child is ill. The child perhaps has to go to hospital. Maybe the child has COVID. So the mother's at home, and she's distraught, obviously, thinking of the child. And then suddenly she sees the child's shoes. And immediately she starts crying. She even may faint. So the shoes are like the udipad. They remind you of the child. So in spiritual life, there are things which remind us of Krishna. As far as the gopis are concerned, the main udipad is the flute, or the sound of Krishna's flute. A second very prominent udipad is the moon. This is in Madhurya Ras. Of course, in Sakya Ras, the flute would also be very prominent. So in each ras, there are different udipads which stimulate your thoughts for Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya, he runs, he falls down, he's unconscious. The Vaishnavas come to console him. He's in deep meditation. This is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's very wonderful. Lord Chaitanya would have three states of consciousness. Bahimukya, external. In other words, he would act like a sannyasi. Bahya, normal. Then Antya, internal. He's thinking of Radha Bhav. That's Antya. And then Adhya, Bahya Dasya, half-half, which means half. Which means he's in a sort of delirious state, where he's half in and half out. So these three conditions are described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we pray that these conceptions of Lord Chaitanya appear in our heart. That Lord Chaitanya and his associates, Lord Chaitanya is never alone. Lord Nityananda, Advaita Gadadhar, Srivas, Murari Gupta, Haridas Thakur, these various Vaishnavas. It's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 10, there's 130. Their names are all given. We pray that these associates, including Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta, Srila Prabhupada, can manifest in our heart, that they can manifest in their apparent sadhak forms, which was in Gaur Lila. In other words, Bhagavan Acharya is a lame, Haridas Thakur is coming from a Muslim background. Many times he's depicted looking a little like a Muslim. So this is their sadhak forms, but even their sadhak form, or sadhak vesh, it's pure, unlike ours. And then one can also, if one is fortunate, meditate on them in their siddha forms. Swarup Damodar being Lalita, Ramananda Roy being Vishaka. Sikhi Mahiti, his sister Madhavi, she's Kalakeli Gopi. So this comes by mercy. It's not an intellectual thing. By practicing Krishna consciousness, by praying to the Vaishnavas. And before we pray to the associates of Lord Krishna and Vrindavan, the cowherd boys, the gopis, we pray to the associates of Lord Chaitanya in Navadvip and Jagannath Puri. And before praying to them, we pray to the associates of Srila Prabhupada. We can also pray to the associates of Bhaktisiddhanta. Prabhupada wasn't the only disciple. And then we pray to the associates, disciples of Srila Prabhupada, the senior Vaishnavas within ISKCON, our own Diksha Guru, our Siksha Guru. We can pray to them also, repeating their name. Namaram Vishnu Bidaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Pankajanya Prabhu Iti Namane. Pankajanya now is going through the transformation of possibly leaving his body. We could say material body, but he's used it in Krishna's service for some 50 years. And he's destined to take birth in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Of course, ISKCON is already Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And he'll get Sakshat Darshan in Gaur Lila, somewhere in this Brahmanda or universe. And then he'll take birth, it's called Vastu Siddhi in Krishna's pastimes, which is going on somewhere in this material universe. Then when that's completed, he'll go back to Goloka Vrindavan and associate with Krishna in his spiritual form. There's a very nice sentence. Canto 8, chapter 24, text 51. A devotee, word for word, a devotee in his spiritual form returns to the personality of Godhead, where he plays and dances with him. So this would be the case with Pankajanya Prabhu and all these other wonderful Vaishnavas, Bhakti Chur Maharaj, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, resuming their spiritual forms and playing and dancing with Krishna. So this is the gift given to us by Srila Prabhupada. If he hadn't come to South Africa or Ukraine or America, there would be no Vaishnavism outside of India. It would still be contained in India, and even then in India, just in small places like Navadvip, perhaps a little bit of Radhakund or something going on. But it wouldn't be spread all over India, as is the case now, and all over the world. So we owe so much to Srila Prabhupada, so we can try to pay back our debt by serving in his mission and cooperating. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, His Grace Pankajanya Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.